as Nigeria's agri sector gets top priority in the President Buhari's economic agenda. As Mr. President talks tough about diversifying the nation's revenue base, can the roadmap for the sector lead the country ashore and bring a turnaround in terms of export potentials? Welcome to Question Time. I'm Benga Ashiru. You may also join in this conversation by sending us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. With Nigeria's huge potential in cocoa production, what business has it in a distant third position in terms of cocoa exports? And what also happens to the cassava revolution of previous administration? And what plan does the federal government have in ensuring food security, employment, and support for the local farmers? Channels TV met with the Minister of Agriculture, Chief Audu Ogbeh, as he unveils his agri roadmap in this exclusive interview. The President has expressed so much faith in agri sector as one of the keys in which is going to use to diversify the economy from the over-reliance on oil sector. He has announced 1.45 trillion naira in the non-oil sector. How much of that do you expect in the agri sector?
What we are getting isn't a whole lot, but it's a continuous thing. We recognize the needs in other sectors like power and infrastructure. So we realize that even if the agriculture sector is developing and the power sector is weak, then of course processing and so on and value addition becomes a problem. What we'll expect to get this time is a little below $50 billion, but we're also looking forward to support from many agencies. The World Bank, African Development Bank, International Fund for Agricultural Development, and many other agencies which come to help supplement our programs of growth, especially because in our sector, it's about helping the private sector to grow. The government's involvement in direct production is going to be minimized, except where just to set an example and do a kind of a model for others to follow. So we will start with that, and we believe that the President, if the need arises, will always see what he can do for us to keep on sustaining the growth in agriculture, which we've started engaging in.
Food security is still an issue in Nigeria. What are your plans to bring food to the tables of Nigerians in an affordable manner?
Well, the plans are simple. First, we must trace the history of the decline in agriculture from Udoji Awards of 1972. It became an unfortunate side effect of a policy which was good. The Yakubu Gowon regime decided that they were going to support farmers, support Nigerians and increase their pay from the windfalls in oil. But it immediately sent a signal. People decided and realized that, well, you could do better being a contractor, being in the civil service, than trudging and suffering on the fields. So cocoa production started going down, coffee production, maize, cashews, sesame seeds, soybeans, name it. We began a journey on the downward trend. And today the elite generally have a very low opinion of agri. Young people are not interested. The average age of the farmer is 65. The yields are low because there's very little research in seed, even in soil management.
What are your plans to get more people to come into agriculture?
Government has to re-engineer the whole industry. We have to talk to people more. We have to get young people interested in it. We have to find cheaper credits for farmers. If we don't do that, people won't go in there. But the beautiful things happening is that we now have a system where we've just finished developing and publishing what we now call the geoecological map of Nigeria. Information which up to now wasn't available, where the would-be farmer can tell himself or herself that what you want to grow here won't grow there because the soil you have won't stand that crop. But if you must use it, you have to blend your fertilizer and input in such a way that there are balances in the soil nutrients which you need. There are 16 nutrients in the soil, macro and micro. Now, if any of these is short, you don't expect a good yield. You have to work harder on seeds. So the yield per hectare quadruples. and you can match what they do elsewhere. If you're doing onions in Yemen, you expect 120 tons. In Nigeria here, you're barely lucky. You're lucky if you do get a bare 10 tons of onions per hectare. Why is that so? Your cows yield 1 liter of milk per day. Cows in other countries, in some countries, are going as far as 60 liters per cow per day. Why? So these are things we have to look back at. And we have the means and the personnel to change the situation. What we need to do now is to push studies, information, scientific research, and support for the farmer to get ourselves where other countries have gotten.
You've not really answered my question, because most of the youth of nowadays sees agriculture as a dirty job. They see it as soiling their hands. They would rather prefer taking up an air-conditioned job in the office.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, it's a national problem. The Nigerian elite has generally looked down on agriculture over the years. You can't force people to the farms. You can only attract them. There will be a massive youth incentive program in agriculture which we're going to start. But either you persuade them by showing them that it can pay, by showing them that credit is available, by supporting them by clearing land and mechanizing agriculture. You either do that or you get nothing. The youth, and many of them are actually willing to return to agriculture. That's the good news. But it's for us to make sure that when they come in, they don't face disappointment.
What are the incentives for you to get the youth and other Nigerians to embrace agriculture?
First of all, there are no jobs elsewhere. 2, there's money to be made in agriculture. 3, it is not the dirty job they claim it is. It may look dirty because their parents and grandparents who went through that ordeal only had just so much comfort in life. Today, with science and mechanization, agriculture can be exciting. Imagine a young man or young woman in the village with 10 cows milking, giving him or her 20 liters of milk per day at 120 naira per liter. That child or that young person is earning far more than the average civil servant in the civil service. The point is, what kind of cows will that fellow be milking? And managing cows or keeping cattle doesn't have to be an exclusively Fulani business. Imagine a young man or woman with 1 hectare of bananas. He can do a comfortable 1 million naira per month if such a young person has the right kind of banana to plant. Tissue cultured banana. The demand for Nigerian produce abroad is so high now. The issue is, can we meet the demands?
You can also be part of this conversation by sending us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Coming up on Question Time, what incentives should the government introduce to attract more investors in the agri sector? Don't go away.